So I made a list of pros and cons from our cruise that we found like different from what we were used to. So I'm gonna go ahead and go through those. The bartenders were great. We loved our bartenders. Shout out to Alex and Palmer. They were lit the whole cruise. They knew what we wanted by the time we came back. They had poured like multiple drinks for us. They were very lively, very polite, nice. So shout out to the bartenders. Um, Another thing is when you go to like the buffet, there is a drink station, and I love that because at Carnival there's like a few bars like on the Lido deck, and you have to go over to the bar area in order to get a drink. There are drink stations all over the ship. On MSC we could pretty much get a drink from like anywhere, whether it be like pop or a cocktail. There were so many stations that we could always get a drink. Even in the buffet there's a station where you can go and get drinks. There is also a kid section in the buffet. We didn't have kids with us, and we don't have small kids anyway, so they wouldn't have been eating there, but I thought it was really nice that they had an entire kids buffet area which was lowered down so that they can reach, and it was just filled with things that kids love to eat. So burgers, hot dogs, pizza, french fries, chicken fingers, stuff like that. And then like all of the desserts that kids like. I did think that was really, really nice even though we didn't have kids with us. Another thing we noticed is there are not a lot of overhead announcements, and I'm so used to them coming over the overhead and every hour telling you what's going on. Don't miss this. You can buy this. Upselling. None of that is happening. So there are not a lot of like photo opportunities where people are hounding you to purchase things, or they are not coming on telling you where to find this, where to find that. I think we may have heard maybe one or two announcements a day. I also noticed that like all of the drills that they have when we're on Carnival, it was none of that. I think maybe once or twice a day we would hear from the cruise director, and outside of that it was you figure out what you're going to do. You look at the schedule of events and you figure it out. And speaking of the schedule of events, another thing that we found different was the pre-scheduling of restaurants and shows. So you do have to schedule your dining ahead of time. If you book specialty dining, you can't just show up. You do have to book a specific time for you to eat, as well as the shows. So when we first got on board, we went to the giant screens that they have in the hallway, and we booked the shows and things that we wanted to see, and that's how you add them to your itinerary so that you can go watch them later. One of our favorite places on all cruise ships is always the sports bar. So we love a good sports bar. And this was hands down one of the best sports bars that I've ever seen on a cruise ship. So they had like these little personalized booths, like you're at a real bar. They had personal TVs in it. Then they had a giant screen. Then there was a bar in the middle. They had games that you can play in there. There were actually slot machines in there. And the bartenders were very, very nice, very lively. And they also sold bar food. So we were able to get like some wings and fries while we were in the sports bar. We really enjoyed the sports bar. We spent a lot of time in there. The aesthetics of the ship were immaculate. So I'm talking about glass and mirrors everywhere. Everything was super clean. It didn't give like fun family vibes. It gave like, don't touch my walls, don't touch my mirrors. This is uppity, this is classy, and I love that. So the aesthetics on the ship are on point. Another big pro, there's no wait in between drinks, and you can get more than one if you want to. So if I would go to the bar and I'd say, hey, I want a drink for me and my husband, or give me two of these, or they would just give them to me. They wouldn't say come back in 5 minutes, come back in 10 minutes, or you just had one or only one. They would like, you have the premium package here, whatever you want. So I would often get a bottle of water and a pop, or a bottle of water and a pop and my liquor or whatever cocktail I was having, or get a cocktail and a shot, or a cocktail for me and my husband and 2 shots for us. Or like one time we were sitting at the sports bar and we got like 6 shots and they said nothing. So definitely love the idea of how they work their drink package. The embarkation and disembarkation processes were immaculate. When I say we arrived at the port hours before our check-in time, we told them that we were hours before our check-in time, so we were just going to chill. They were like, no problem, come on, get on the ship. They had no issues whatsoever getting off the ship. We took the elevator right downstairs, stood in a little line, maybe 10 minutes, we're off the ship. It was no problem whatsoever. I'm used to things moving relatively slow, and we weren't in a rush anyway, so we weren't rushing around, but it moved really, really fast. We had no issues getting on or off the ship, even when we were at the ports. And lastly, one of my favorite things was no key cards. So they do give you a key card, but you have the option of purchasing a wristband. I think it was like $11 and we got like 2 for 22 or something like that. And with this, you can charge to your room, you can get in your room, you can do everything that you want to do on the ship. So you don't have to keep pulling out your card, You just wear the wristband. I loved that. I did hear that you used to be able to reuse the wristbands in like different cruises, but now you can't do that. You have to buy one every single cruise, and for $11 I think it's worth it. I would definitely rather wear a wristband and just tap everything versus having to go in my purse or wallet to get out a card. So that pretty much wraps up our MSC comparison to Carnival. We did actually enjoy our MSC cruise. Was it better than Carnival? I can't say that it was better, but it was comparable for sure. The parties and everything like that, they weren't as over the top and raunchy as we're used to on Carnival, but they were still partying, so it wasn't a snooze fest or anything like that. People were dancing, they were getting drunk, they just weren't as rowdy. And that is okay. So we are not young teeny boppers, so we were okay with that. We love to people watch. So sitting at the bar, watching people get drunk and dance, no matter what ship we on, is what we would be doing anyway. So we definitely would sail with them again. We do plan to sail with them again in the future. With that being said, I do have a new cruise coming up. We are about to try our next cruise line, and I am going to give you a hint this time on what cruise line I am trying next. I will say that this cruise line is adults only, no kids. Drop in the comments below what cruise line you think I am trying next.